Hi, boys and girls. So, I'm gonna try some city skylines here. We've got the After Dark expansion, and I'll try and explain some of the new features of that as they come up. There's a lot of stuff there, but I haven't played around with it a lot yet, so we'll kind of learn that bit together. Anyway, we're gonna start a new game. I want to do Green Plains, and we're gonna call the new town Fitzburg. Because I said so. Hey, I'm gonna wait for this to load. I think what I'm gonna try and do is maybe do the first two upgrades in this part, and then we'll go from there. So, interesting thing here. So you'll notice. Let me pause this. So. Right now, the only thing we can build is roads. All the other stuff here is grayed out. We start out with 70,000 euros. We're, of course, not gaining any. Population is 0, because where are they going to live? And nobody's moving in, and everyone's upset with me. Though I honestly couldn't tell you why, because I'm awesome. So, the only road we can build is this two-way road. Two-lane road. But to open up the rest of the stuff, we're just going to do a little bit of that, and then get rid of it. That'll open this one way up, and then I'm going to go up 2, over 2, down 1, over 1 and up, to here, and over, and I want to kind of make this congruent with the other side. Is that long enough? Maybe this one. Yeah. And then come down one full bit, and then all the way down to here, and then like so, and then you can change the direction by right-clicking on that. That ended up better than I thought it would. So that's how people are coming into my city, or what will become my city as time goes on. So cool. Now, to keep things simple and cheap, I'm going to move this out with gravel roads rather than anything paved for the moment. And so that's kind of where we're going to build the city within these to begin with. Alright, so I like it when it matches up like that, just so. That makes me happy. Very happy. Does it match up too? It sure does. Look at that. How cool is that? I like that. What about this? Does this? Of course it doesn't. That's okay. We'll just do that. So, at this point, I'm going to kind of just make these rectangles here until I've spent about 20 grand. At which point, I'll go ahead and move my focus to more residential or utilitarian. Is that even a word? Utility stuff, like power and water. We're doing that anyway because I don't care. Now, I may not talk all through this thing, because a lot of times when I'm playing this, I'm sitting there thinking, alright, so what am I going to do next? And so, if I'm not talking, that means I'm thinking, and not ignoring you, my good friends and lovers and patriots. nonsense. I'm just talking for the sake of talking, which is just dumb. Alright, so that's enough of that. Okay. So that's kind of going to be the outline of the city thus far. We're going to need power, and we're going to need water. I'm going to actually start with water first, just so I know where it's going to be. Now, these arrows point the direction that the water's flowing. And you do not want... You don't want your water pump sucking up sewage, so you want to put the water pump upstream and sewage downstream. So sewage will pour out and head down the river this way versus coming out here and then hitting the pump. But they do have to be connected, so we'll do that. And then you go to here and then I'm gonna base this here, methinks. And here. And here. And here. All the way down. And now let's just go out a little bit here. Oh boy. Let's just go out as far as we can and then hit figures. Right there. That'll do. Alright, so there's that. And then I'm actually going to put power in the form of wind. 6. How far can I go? And then just right next to each other. And then power that. Alright, now we're going to start zoning. Now, so here's the fill tool. It's just going to fill any spaces. You'll notice that doesn't fill that whole space, but if you move it down, it kind of does one of these bits. There's this paint tool, which is silly in my opinion. There's a larger one. I suppose if you wanted to be artistic about it, you could, but I personally prefer this marquee tool to just say, I want this area to be residential. And there we go. Let it roll. And windmills start turning, water pump starts getting power, and houses start getting built. Yay! Welcome to Fitzburg. I'm going to let this roll a little bit and go get some coffee. Yes, that's much better. Alright, so down here you see this green bar. This is the demand that you have for residential zones, which is this green. So we've got a lot of people that are wanting to move into Fitzburg. So we're going to need a lot more residential. You'll see these little slivers of blue and yellow or orange whatever you want to call it. Those are demands for commercial zoning and industrial zoning. You'll also notice these other areas that are grayed out. You got high density residential, high density commercial, and office buildings. These are like high-rise type buildings, if you allow them to get up that high. And we'll eventually get that, but for now we're stuck with kind of low density stuff, and I'm kind of okay with that because it, in my opinion, it makes the city, in a word, kind of cute and quaint. And I kind of like that. So we're gonna continue through here, and this is. We'll make this over here residential. Now, this is probably as far in this direction that I want to go, because I think eventually we're going to extend this highway through here. We'll end up nuking all of this here and extending this through here, and I don't want to tear up a bunch of crap to have to get that done. And take it across that river and then maybe figure out a way to join it up there, or maybe work with this. I like the idea that there's a train here, and I want to try and put more of my industrial stuff over in this area, just because it can take advantage of that train. And oh, look at all that train yard there. Or maybe we can put it on the other side of this highway. And the biggest problem I run into in these games is that while this three-way intersection of highway here is pretty tame right now, it gets kind of stupid after a while with traffic. And I mean, it does that without fail. Managing traffic in these city building games has always been my Achilles heel. So, alright, so huge demand for commercial and industrial zones, so we're going to go ahead and drop those there. I don't know if that's going to be enough to satisfy our citizens, but that's where we're going to start anyway. And we're just going to let those kind of build up. But I think that they're going to have some issues with electricity, if I'm not mistaken, because I don't think they're connected. I'll have to wait and see, and just wait. That's a lot of what this game is. There's a lot of just waiting. And there you see the electricity. These areas, these buildings don't have any power. The power comes down this line and hits these buildings, but because those aren't connected, we need some residential building in here in order to make that work, or we're going to have to extend a power line over here. But I'm just going to let that go for now and hope we get some buildings in here. That would be the ideal way for this to get done, but oh, and there they go. One more. Put it anywhere. There it is. And now you'll see all the electricity flow through here. Yay! And those businesses and industry will go ahead and do their thing. Now, in order to kind of unlock all of this other stuff, you have to reach these milestones. And our first milestone is to reach a population of 500. And you can see here we're at 167 right now. So, here we go. We'll just kind of wait this out for now. Keeping an eye on this to see if there's zoning that we need to be doing to bring more in. Each one of these, the residential and the commercial and industrial, has their own tax rates. Right now everyone's set at 9%. I can't modify that until I get this up to 500, but once I do, will increase the tax rate for commercial and industrial, not just for the purposes of getting more money, but to kind of, for lack of a better word, regulate the demand of those types of districts. Because the higher the taxes, the less demand for those districts there will be. And so we'll see that, and then of course the money will go up. Of course we're still losing money, but that'll change here shortly as time goes on. Speaking of time, you can actually speed up time with over here. That's the max right there. See how fast everybody's kind of driving like crazy people. Back that up. We also notice that over here, with the After Dark expansion, and actually without the expansion, just with an update that preceded the After Dark expansion, or DLC, they created night and day, and right now it's almost midnight. You can see where the moon is kind of coming up, and it'll peak over here, and then the sun will come up, and you can't see the moon right now because it's directly above us. I don't think. Oh, maybe that's it right there, where the Tweety bird is. It's hard to see. It's floating in the sky above us. Yes, that's where the moon goes. But it's kind of cool to watch the night and day kind of go through, and the lights. With the gravel roads, they don't have any street lights on those gravel roads, which is kind of cool because, you know, you get to see the cars kind of doing their thing with the headlights and whatnot, which is still visible with like paved roads, but not as evident, which is, you can see over here, you can see the headlights, but with the street lights, it kind of drowns out the light of the vehicles coming through. Look at all these people coming to live in Fitzburg. An awesome town. Welcome. Oh look, we're making money now. Everything is good on demand, just a little bit of residential, but I think we've probably got enough zoned for it not to be that big a deal. Yeah, you can see there's areas here that haven't even been built on yet, so we're gonna let it ride for now. Here they're saying they don't have enough workers, which is dumb. Well, maybe not. There's 336 jobs and only 191. You can see here that half of the buildings we have right now are all industrial, and only this portion is residential. But that's because they need to build faster. Build faster, you jerks! So those will go away in a while. I'm not overly concerned about it. But if you let them go too long, those businesses will close down and you'll end up with an abandoned building, which isn't a big deal. You just bulldoze it and it rebuilds itself based on the zone that it's in. But it's kind of a pain in the ass to sit there bulldozing stuff all day. It'll get to a point, though, where it seems like you're doing nothing but bulldozing, especially right after you get to high school. Because a lot of the commercial businesses will sit there and go, hey, the workers we have aren't high enough educated. They need to have at least a high school education, which makes sense. But they do that immediately after the high school drops, and it takes time to educate those kids. And so you end up blowing up a bunch of commercial buildings, and that lasts until those kids, get their diplomas, which takes a little bit of time. But you'll see that when we get to that point. So the goal we had was 500. You'll see here we're sitting at about 468. So almost there. And there's the moon going down behind that hill. And as it goes down, you can see the sunrise. So we're going to sit on the roof of this building right here, and we're going to watch the sunrise. Just you and me, faithful viewer. Kid running his dog around, getting in the car, going off to work. And look at that. Alright, so going through this screen, some of the things that we get from reaching this milestone. We can now change those taxes. So like I was saying, we all started all the zones started at 9%, but we can now modify that. We can also take out a loan for 20,000 euros in case we get into a pinch or want to do an expand. Of course, there's an interest rate on that, and it comes out monthly. New services include garbage, healthcare, and education. For those of you watching in the United States, this is socialized medicine, universal healthcare. So, blow me. Socialized education and socialized garbage pickup. All of it, socialism. Just saying. It also gives you access to the buildings of the medical clinic to facilitate that health care, the landfill to facilitate that garbage, and an elementary school, obviously, to facilitate education in your city. And that's what we get for reaching this milestone. Our next milestone will be reaching a population of 1,000, and that will allow us to expand the size of our city. Right now, and I'm going to pause this, right now we have, this is the borders of our city. But there are other 2 by 2 kilometer areas out here that we can expand our city into. So in previous titles you got this and this was it. This is what you had to work with. You could dink around with the city over here maybe and try and set up trade connections and that kind of thing, which I thought was kind of cool, though it was cool in theory but kind of shitty in practice, like titles like the most recent Sim City, which was okay until this came out and just blew it out of the water. But we're going to zoom back in and go back to, well, before we continue with the sunset, we should probably make sure that we don't have garbage piling up, because they'll freak out. And I don't need people freaking out. So we're going to put garbage right there. Let's get these kids a place to go to school, because I don't want stupid people in my city. I'm going to try and centralize that. I think now you'll notice that this is going to knock out 2 buildings, and I'm okay with that, because they'll build up around it, and then we can always expand outwards from here. There's plenty of area where they haven't done anything. And then universal healthcare. We'll go ahead and drop that. We'll drop that. Actually, we're going to drop that here. Alright. So there's that. There's those things. And then back onto this roof, so that you and I can watch the sunrise together. I love you, viewer. And that's dawn in Fitzburg. You can see how it casts shadows. The graphics in this game are so remarkable, in my opinion. And what they did with this, with the After Dark patch, where they made day and night cycle was just amazing in my opinion. The way that they really just made it gorgeous. You see the shadow of this house on the roof of this one, and how it moves like the way it's supposed to. I mean, that's just remarkable. I'm an old guy. I've been playing video games for a long time, and comparing the graphics on a game like this with games from the past and just how advanced everything is. I mean, these trees, just absolutely remarkable. Fucking gorgeous. Alright, so like we were talking with that, we got the school, we got our medical center, and we got our landfill. And you'll see trucks coming out of there to pick up trash all over the city. But the other thing we got was we got access to loans. So we can take a 20,000 euro loan out, the 5% interest rates. These are other loans that we get as time goes on. When we reach a population of 1,000, 20,000. So there's that. This is the budget. You can actually, everything's at 100% right now, but you can actually raise or lower electricity production, water and sewage, garbage collection. Obviously, the higher the budget, the more, I don't want to say efficient, but the more, they hire more people, and so production goes up, energy production goes up, water and sewage capacity goes up, landfill, or the number of garbage trucks goes up, the number of healthcare workers, and so your healthcare, or your citizens' health will go up. Education will go up. But we're not going to mess with any of this right now. Usually the only one I tend to mess with is electricity if I don't have enough money to build a new power plant, in this case mostly wind. I'll bump up. You'll find that electricity starts to, you'll have brownouts. And so by cranking up that budget a little bit, you can get rid of the brownouts until you have enough cash on hand to go ahead and buy another power plant. But there was one other thing in that panel, and that's taxes. So this is the residential tax rate, and I'm going to jack that up to 10. Commercial is going to go up to, we're going to say 13. See if I can get away with that. I'm going to take industrial to 12%, and watch the money start rolling in. Keeping an eye on the demand here. Again, we need to get to 1,000 to get our next milestone upgrade. Excuse me. So we've got a couple of choices here. We can expand towards this wall over here, or I'm going to need to build some more freaking roads. And I think building additional roads is probably the best way to go. Sticking with the gravel. And a couple over one. I see a lot of people who are very, for lack of a better word, artistic with the manner with which they build their roads. Now we're going to get into trouble here, I think, or maybe not. Yeah, we're going to end up getting in trouble here. And I love those videos, watching those, and I think to myself, you know, they make that crap look so easy, and yet I just can't, I guess, bring myself to build that way. Not that I blame the fact that I don't have an artistic bone in my body, but I wish I could. I had the I don't want to say the ability, because I don't think it's a matter of ability. I wish I had the talent. Say that. I wish I had the talent to see it as an artistic thing, but instead you'll notice that my city is very rigid and structured, and kind of boring, I guess, compared to some of the other stuff I see people doing. You know, and every time I try and do something cool and artistic and aesthetic, it just turns to shit. So I kind of just throw my hands up in the air and say, "To hell with it. I'll just do it the way that works for me, I guess." But if anybody has any suggestions, obviously, for ways I can try and make my cities a little more pleasing to the eye, by all means, leave it in the comments, because I obviously appreciate the feedback. So, more houses building. I'll go up here to the front of the city and take a look at what's going on here. The way I set this thing up here, just to explain, so this is all traffic coming in, either from this side of the highway or from this side of the highway through here. And this all goes out, either going westbound or eastbound. And so traffic comes in here. All of this paved road is all one way. And so they come underneath that overpass, and then if they're staying in the city, they can take a left here or go straight. You'll see those guys are going straight, that guy's going left. Or if they're just coming in and getting out, which isn't too often at all, they'll just go around here, up and out. This here is pretty much an industrial service road. Its only purpose is to give the traffic coming out, which is mostly exports, a way to get the hell out of here without driving all through the city and making a traffic nightmare in here. So I try to leave them an out, and that's right through here. And what'll end up happening as production increases through here is that this will turn to a shitstorm over here, and we'll have to figure out a way to get through that. But by that time, my hope would be that I'd be able to, take something up through here in order to create on-ramps and off-ramps. But we'll have to wait and see how that turns out. And it'll end up being bad, because like I was saying earlier, the issues with traffic are my Achilles heel in this game. If it weren't for traffic, I would make monstrosity cities of epic proportions, but traffic hates me. So they want more industrial. I don't really want to pack it in here, so I'm going to come out to here and do a little like this. We've almost hit our 1,000 population milestone. We're going to need water here, aren't we? Yeah. So that, and then I want to take this all the way up to there. Now here's those brownouts I was talking about. Most of these places are getting enough power, but these guys will sit here and say, hey, we're not getting enough. Then the power will come back and then go away, and then come back and then go away. Luckily, I have enough to put another power plant in place. Just 5, maybe we want 6. And you'll see up here that we're using 19 megawatts and producing 24. Now, I can get that above that 24 by moving these up here, and I'm just going to show you that real quick. So before it was 24, and now it's 28. 30. and that's coming from that 50% additional production from raising that budget. Go ahead and drop that back down because it's just wasting money at this point. But that's what I was talking about. If, you know, if I didn't have enough to buy the plant, I can crank up that budget, say hire more guys and produce more electricity until I can figure out what the hell I'm going to do with this shit. But that isn't necessary right now. So, and there's that. So, and I'm going to talk about this and then we'll call this apart, because it takes forever to upload this crap on YouTube. So like I said, we got the extra area. We can now create districts, city policies. We get our second loan that we looked at. District specializations and services and policies. So districts and district specializations. Down here is forestry and agricultural specializations. What that means, just gonna get out of this for now and pause the game. So what I was saying before I was so rudely interrupted by our awesomeness was that if you look at this, this is all just standard dirty industry. Fish stick factory, garments, ice cube factory, garments, ready to wear, box factory, because they don't have enough boxes. But all in all basically dirty industry. Fish sticks and boxes and garments and yeah. Those specializations, you create districts here, and we'll go ahead and do that. But you create districts and then give it that district a specialization. The specializations we have available to us right now, this is just your generic industry. This is what we have here now. This is forestry. They use less electricity. The income of taxes is a little bit increased, but it requires a natural resource, forest, but that resource is renewable. Same thing here. They use a lot more water. Taxes are a little bit more increased and requires fertile land, again renewable. We got ore industry, which requires a natural resource, ore, and that's not renewable. So in terms of ore, there's no ore except right here. So I mean, if we wanted to expand to there, we could get ore there. There's some there. If you look up here, you'll see that black, that's oil. If we wanted to do oil industry. And that, my friends, is here. The cool thing about ore industry and oil industry is those tax increases are huge. No, not huge, moderate. But it also increases ground pollution and electricity consumption, as you see there. And oil is considerably more pollutant and uses more electricity, but a lot more tax income as well. For now, I'm going to do forestry here and just take the moderate, the slight increase in tax income, a little more electricity. Actually, no. We're going to do that as agricultural because we've got plenty of water, and you can see here that they use a lot more water, but you get the slightly increased tax income, and that fertile land is renewable. So right now you can see where there's kind of this white dust around on the ground around here. That's from the pollution. I think, yeah. So you can see how this industry is high in terms of pollution, and it's spilling out over into the commercial district. This is why the commercial goes here. This crap gets into the residential district, these people all get sick, and I don't want them getting sick. So what we're going to do is we're going to change this to agriculture. This will all go away, except around the landfill, because landfill is pollution as well. Alright, so we've done that. The other things that we get, I wanted to go back to this, is we get the fire department, police department, and unique buildings. New policies include power usage, water usage, and smoke detector distribution. This lowers the chance of fire, but there's a cost to it. It costs you 5 cents per building. Not a lot, but it makes a difference. Water usage, same thing, 5 cents per building, but they use less water. And same thing here, 5 cents per building, but they use less electricity. And then of course the buildings to go with our new services. We've got the police station and the firehouse, and we'll drop those when we come back. So I'm going to go ahead and save our game here, and I'll see you in the next episode.